All right, today we're going to talk about bar graphs. So, a bar graph is really similar to a pictograph, except that instead of having pictures that represent the data, we have rectangles, which we call bars. Here are the bars on this bar graph. Now, otherwise, they look really similar to pictographs. So at the top, just like normal, we have the title, and that tells us what kind of data there's going to be on the bar graph. This is the title, so I know that this bar graph is showing a school supply drive, which means that they're trying to get some school supplies for the kids in the class. On the side, we have the labels. We call this vertical one that goes up and down the y-axis. So this is the y-axis label, the number of items. On the bottom, the one that goes across, we call that the x-axis. So the x-axis label here is items collected. So I can see the different categories of items or things that they collected in the school supply drive. Now in the pictograph, we had a key which told us what each picture represented. Sometimes it represents 1, sometimes 2, sometimes 5. On a bar graph, instead, we have a scale. That's these lines that go across, and they show us the number of things that the bars represent. It's counting by something. This scale is counting by 50. 50, 100, 150, 200, all the way up to 450. So when we read it, we need to make sure that we're looking at which number it goes to at the top of the bar. That's called the scale. Every bar graph has a scale. Now let's talk about how to read the data on the bar graph. Pencils. This bar shows the number of pencils they collected. I'm going to look at the top number that it goes to, 450. So they collected 450 pencils. Now let's talk about scissors. I'm going to go all the way up to the top. Scissors, they got 350. See how it lines up with the 350 line? That means they collected 350 scissors. Now let me do folders. Folders goes up to this line, 150. So they collected 150 folders. Now let's talk about glue. Glue is going to be the trickiest one because it goes halfway in between 250 and 300. So I actually have to think about what number is in the middle of 250 and 300. That's a tricky one, but I know that you could split 50 into two parts, 25 and 25. So if I add 25 to 250 and I count by 25 instead, it would be 275. Now that's really tricky, so I'm not going to ask you to do it in your work, but I know that they collected 275 bottles of glue.